Greetings. Hello. Welcome to Dr. Jeff Talks About Sex and Intimacy, where we explore the science, the psychology, and the lived experience of connection and desire. I'm your host, Dr. Jeff Albaugh, and today we're diving into how play can help us reconnect with pleasure, curiosity, and our erotic selves. This is episode 71. Beyond the Problems, How Play Transforms Sex, Desire, and Intimacy. So, whether you're watching live or listening to the recording later, every moment of your amazing life matters. And I count it a true blessing and gift to have you here joining us to improve your life. I sincerely thank you. I want you to know that you are the reason this podcast exists. We are connected across so many platforms. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on X, we're on LinkedIn. If you're joining us on X, pop over to one of the other platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, or StreamYard so you can interact with us and ask us questions. If you are a Facebook person, please do us a big favor and follow us. The more people who follow us, the more things we can do on Facebook. Please visit the website. Learn so much about all the different episodes. We have had the most amazing guests, over a year worth of guests. Wow, 70 episodes with awesome people. You can watch previous episodes. You can pull up the calendar and see all the exciting things we have coming up all the way through August. We got some programming. Very exciting. So go to the website. You can take Dr. Jeff Talks About Sex and Intimacy wherever you go. We are streaming with you. We're on Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio. So whatever your favorite music streaming service is, take us along. While you're working out, you can learn about sex and intimacy. While you're on the road, you can learn about sex, intimacy, and relationships. So take us along. As always, I'd like to take a moment to remind you that everyone is welcome here. Whatever your sexual orientation, gender identity, or relationship style, please know that this podcast was created for you, and you are so welcome here. The mission of the podcast is really simple. It is to empower and enlighten you with the evidence-based information you need that improves your sexual health and deepens those wonderful relationships that you have so you can live your one miraculous life more wholeheartedly and with more love. Who doesn't want more of that? So today's conversation invites us to shift something fundamental in how we think about sex and intimacy. So often, when challenges arise, whether it's low desire or a desire discrepancy between partners or feeling disconnected, we move into problem-solving mode. We analyze, we try to fix, we search for the right answer, and while insight has a place, the truth is the erotic self doesn't thrive under pressure or overthinking. And gosh, aren't we always overthinking, that voice in our head going crazy? What if the path forward isn't more effort, but what if the path forward is more play? In this episode, we're exploring how bringing curiosity, lightness, and even a sense of fun into our intimate lives can open doors that logic alone cannot. Play has an incredible role. It helps us move out of our heads and back into our bodies. It creates space for exploration, experimentation, and authentic connection without the weight of expectations and performance. So first off, joining me today for a co-host is my good friend and colleague who you've learned to love as well through this podcast, Dr. Susan Kellogg-Spadt. She is a sexologist. She's an amazing advanced practice nurse who has her own practice. She is the person who is my go-to person about female sexuality and sexual dysfunction, and I am always excited to have her co-host with me. But joining me is another friend and colleague, Lena Elkhatib. She is a highly respected sex therapist and supervisor. She helps individuals and couples reconnect with their erotic selves in ways that feel expansive, embodied, and deeply human. Together, we're going to talk about how prioritizing play can help couples navigate desire differences, reduce pressure, and rediscover a sense of aliveness in their intimate relationships. So, my guest, Lena Elkhatib. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She is ASEC certified sex therapist. You've heard me talk about ASEC, where you can find therapists and counselors. And she's a certified sex therapy supervisor. She specializes in working with individuals and couples navigating sexual concerns, desire discrepancies, relational disconnection, and the complexities of erotic identity. Lena's approach integrates evidence-based sex therapy with a deep appreciation for embodiment, emotional attunement, and the role of curiosity, one of my favorite words, and play in sexual well-being. She's particularly passionate about helping clients move away from performance-driven or problem-focused frameworks and towards a more compassionate, exploratory relationship with their sexuality. So, without further ado, I want to bring on my fabulous co-host and my wonderful guest. Welcome, Lena, and welcome, Dr. Kellogg-Spadt.
Hi, so happy to be here.
So happy to have you guys, and what a great subject. Don't we all, in our romantic relationships and our sex and intimacy, don't we need more play in our lives?
Oh my God. I mean, I am here to talk about that, and you're going to have to silence me at some point because I can't stop talking about play.
I love it. And I know, Dr. Kellogg, you were like, oh, I definitely want to be on this episode because we love play.
Yeah.
Without further ado, Lena, what I'd like to do is hand it over to you so you can do your presentation, and then we'll come back on and talk about it soon.
Sounds good. All right. So, I think the juice is going to be in the conversation that we're going to have after this. So I'm going to try to go through these slides pretty quickly. But like I was saying a minute ago, I could go on and on about this because I truly believe that play is one of the most underrated and yet one of the most powerful tools that we have to transform the way that we do sex, desire, and intimacy. And what's great about it is that it's a tool that we have been using our entire lives. So we have it, it's available to us, it's powerful. And unfortunately, we don't talk about it as much as we should, especially in the context of therapy. So that's something that I'm hoping we can start to change. So Jeff already did the introduction, so I'm going to skip past this. But here's the thing. I'm a sex therapist, and hands down, the most common thing that I see in my office is when couples come in wanting to work on desire discrepancy, which is basically when a couple comes in, you have one partner saying, I want to have more sex, and another partner that's saying, I want to have more sex, but I just don't. I really do, but I don't. And usually, by the time they come into my office, sex, intimacy has become so burdened by resentment, rejection, guilt, anger, shame, pressure, anxiety, all of these very unsexy feelings. People are just carrying this and wondering, why can't I connect sexually? Well, kind of makes sense if that's what you're holding. And that's usually what people are coming in with. And so, in therapy, understandably so, we work on communication skills. How can you talk about your wants and your needs? How can you know, talk about this discrepancy in a way that's going to be more compassionate and more understanding? We do psychoeducation around the different types of desire. It's so important to understand the way our body works, to understand our partners, to understand our own erotic identities. Crucial. We talk about things like prioritizing intimacy, scheduling intimacy, date nights, things like that. We address imbalances in the division of labor. If your context in itself doesn't feel conducive to intimacy, chances are it's not going to happen. We talk about broadening intimacy, working through resentment. All of these are very, very important things to work through. They're also very serious. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we shouldn't work on these things. They're important. It's the insight we need to create the foundation for intimacy and sex in our relationship. But what tends to happen is often couples will say, we're doing really well. We're communicating better. We're working on things. We feel much more connected, but we just can't get past that hurdle to actually connecting sexually, to actually tapping into desire. They describe it almost as though there's like an invisible wall between their relationship and taking that leap into desire. It's almost as if it's too far of a stretch. They're in this headspace of analyzing, of understanding, of trying to figure out the right way to talk about things and to communicate, which again is super important, but you're in your head. You know, you're in this place of thinking, of processing, of negotiating. And that's not where desire lives. That's not where eroticism lives. They're not able to necessarily make that jump from there to being in your body, to being in curiosity, to being in creativity, to letting go, to being in the space that eroticism requires. And that is where play comes in. If folks are in this place of heaviness, maybe it's the heaviness of the day, maybe it's the world that we live in, right? You know, we work all day, we raise children, we caretake, you know, we have responsibilities, even navigating relationships and whatnot. All of that can be very heavy, very serious. We spend a big chunk of our lives thinking, doing, you know, kind of turning on the parts of ourselves that are very analytical. And so when the time comes where we want to transition into desire, into intimacy, where we can kind of let go, that's a big jump. The link is play. Play being that state of mind where curiosity and creativity are at a high. There's room to imagine, to be messy, to try things out because the stakes are low and you can tap out at any time. And it's all for the sole purpose of pleasure. It's the thing that leaves you thinking, we should do that again soon. So think of it as kind of this place that you can be in. The heaviness of the day, the heaviness of being in your head, being in your mind, analyzing, to being able to release that, to being able to let go, to be able to just be. That state of mind is what play activates. And it can do two really important things for desire and for sex and for eroticism. It can serve as a transition where it puts you in a state of mind that can allow you to better move in to desire and sexuality. And the ingredients for play also happen to be the same ingredients that enhance desire and intimacy and sexuality, which we'll talk about in a minute. So technically, what is play? From a you know, very technical standpoint, it's a hardwired neurobiological drive designed to enhance the bonding that's necessary for survival. So play is not frivolous. It's not this thing that we can we do when we're kids and then when we become adults we no longer need. Mammals need play. It is how we bond. It is how we survive. It's how we learn. As children, as babies, it's how we understand the world around us. It's how we connect. And it is one of the primary emotional systems. The others being seeking, care, lust, panic, grief, rage, fear. So it is a part of who we are. And yet somehow we talk about play as though it is child's play. But it's not. It is very much crucial for our survival. So the 7 core tenets of play, and these are put together from a variety of different sources. But if we think about play and we kind of break down the different kind of aspects of it, one, play is voluntary. It's not fun if people are forced to do it, right? Everybody wants to play the game. That's what makes it fun. So if you think about that in terms of desire and intimacy, this is what consent is. Everybody's game. Play is done for play's sake. There's no objective, right? You're doing it just for the sake of fun. So when we think about the ways that many of the folks that we know address sex or intimacy, a lot of times there's a lot of pressure. We're doing this because we should. because it's been a week and I'm worried that my partner's going to get mad, because that's what we're supposed to do, because that's what couples do, because whatever it is. And that pressure tends to kind of change the meaning. That's where duty sex comes in. And nobody wants that. Play is done for play's sake, and to be able to kind of tap into this notion of doing things just because they're fun. What a beautiful way to tap into that and apply that to sexuality. Play is imaginative. It lives in the as if. If you look at the way children play, they are figuring it out as they go. They're masters at it. If you just watch, I have two small children, and I'll often just watch the way they just create things. All of a sudden, a Tupperware becomes this magical bowl, and there's something in it that's going to change them into a wizard, and they all take on these roles, and anything can be anything because they say it is so. What a beautiful way to be open to anything. And what a beautiful part of yourself to bring into intimacy. I can be anything right now. I can shed the roles that maybe I've been carrying all day. Maybe roles that force me to be in caretaking mode. Maybe roles that force me to be serious and on and in control. Maybe I get to imagine what it's like to let that go and try on something else. Play involves a state of flow. And this one I can't emphasize enough. Play is, at its peak, you are in the game. People that run might understand this. When you start running, after a little bit, a few blocks in, suddenly you're just in it. You're not thinking of anything. You're totally present. You're feeling it. You're in your body. This flow being total presence. And this one is especially important because, man, how many of us can't help but pick up our phones 1,000 times a day? How many of us get into bed and then the first thing we do is we start doom scrolling? And then we wonder why we're not feeling this connection with our partners, why we're having a hard time with touch, with intimacy. We're having a hard time being present because there's so many interruptions around us all the time. Play allows us to be there, to just be fully immersed in what's happening in front of us. And especially in today's age, that is very rare. And I think play reminds us how to do that. And intimacy needs that. Play has no agenda. It doesn't have to lead anywhere. It is just whatever happens, happens. And for many people, that is something that is hard to access because, again, we live in a world that is very goal-oriented. And a lot of that goal-oriented mindset has been applied to intimacy. If we have sex, someone has to have an orgasm. If we have sex, it's for a specific objective. There has to be an erection for us to be able to be intimate with one another. Not necessarily. Intimacy and closeness in sex can look 1,000 different ways as long as it feels good for everyone involved. There doesn't need to be a goal. It can just be enjoying one another. Play is intrinsically motivated. You play because it's fun. And when it's fun, you want to do it some more. Same goes for intimacy and desire and sex. When you have good sex, you want more sex. When you have embodied sex, when you are present in it, when you are feeling it, chances are you're going to want more of that. When you're having, meh sex, disconnected sex, kind of check the box sex, chances are you're not going to be thinking about it the next day. You're not necessarily going to crave that and want that and look forward to the next time you're going to have that experience. So it's not necessarily low desire if you're not desiring a mediocre experience. It's common sense. Play is intrinsically motivated because you are having an experience that is fun and enjoyable and pleasurable, and so you want more. Same thing for intimacy. And then play is relational. And this is one of my favorites. You can't play if you are not being in relationship with people you're playing with, right? You have to co-regulate, you have to negotiate, you have to be attuned to one another, you have to co-create whatever game you're playing. If you're playing pickleball with a partner and you're noticing that, oh, my partner, maybe they don't play as well as I do. You're not going to keep smashing the ball at them. That's not going to be a fun game. Chances are you're going to kind of tone it down a little bit to keep the game going. Enough where it's still fun for you, but they can actually engage with you and they can actually hit the ball back, because that's what makes the game fun. You're working together, you're reading your partner so that the game can keep going. That is what makes it relational. That's what makes it fun. You're paying attention to one another and adjusting accordingly. That is what makes intimacy powerful. You're paying attention to one another and you're adjusting accordingly. You're seeing each other and you're responding to each other. That is the very heart of intimacy. And that is what play does. And again, we do it so well. We know how to do this. We are wired to do this. We do this as children. But as we get older, it's kind of trained out of us. But these skills, we have them. And so if we can start to remember how to play and apply these to sex and to intimacy, man, what a powerful experience. So I'm going to go through the next couple slides very quickly. But to put this in practice, I would say pull out Emily Nagoski's Come Together book. Those emotional systems that I was talking about, care, play, lust, rage, fear, panic, grief. She talks about pathways. She talks about how to use play, lust, care, rage, fear to understand what you need to get from one space to another. Because a lot of times people might be in anxiety and wondering why they can't get to lust, when really what they need is to go through care so that they can get to play, so that they can get to lust. And so what this really means, and I'm kind of, very briefly talking about something that is, quite deep, understanding what you need to be able to access play and to be able to access desire can be a game changer. Essentially, it's saying, I know what I need to be able to get in the headspace for play. I need care. I need my partner to, be calm with me for a minute, maybe talk to me for a minute before I can enter into this headspace. I may not be able to jump in from a hard day at work immediately into this headspace. I might need a minute. So kind of understanding what you need to get into that space so that you can work towards navigating your emotional system. And then the last part is putting play in practice. If play was a transition in this previous slide, how do we transition from play to lust, right? How do we use play as a way to get to desire? Going from your day, understanding how to get from a hard day to desire through play. This is about how to use play as a way to enhance desire. What's most important is that it's about how and not what. Because a lot of times people translate play as, okay, what do I do? Okay, I'm going to sign up for this class, or I'm going to do this thing. And they create checklists of ways that they can, add playful things to their life. And that's fine if it feels playful. But if it becomes another chore, or if you're dragging your partner into something that they don't want to do, that's not play. It's about how it feels. Does it feel low stakes? Does it feel like everyone's on board? Does it feel like you are present and curious and creative and attuned to one another? That can be a thing that you're doing. That can be a mindset that you're in. That can be something that you access sitting on your couch in your home, just holding hands, that can be a version of play if you are tapped into that mindset. So again, play is a how, not a what. And then lastly, I would say learn to be good playmates. That might look like, hey, let's play together. Let's come up with this game together. Let's get to this headspace together. That might look like, I know my partner had a really hard day. I'm going to come up to them and say, hey, let's play. I set up a good game for us. That might look like my partner knowing when I'm struggling and inviting me in and helping me get into that headspace. So sometimes we co-create, sometimes I invite in, sometimes I need to be invited in. But again, having partners and people in our lives that know how to play well with us can be really crucial for this. So I'm going to close this out and come back so we can have our conversation.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. That was great. What a great kickoff to play. I like the tenants a lot. It's just so many good things. What do you think, Susan?
I have 1,000 questions. 1,000 questions.
I had to go through it quickly. I wish I could have slowed down. So fire away.
All right, let's start. I'm going to hit it right out of the last thing that came into my mind is what about a couple who's one person in a couple is naturally funny, cracks jokes, very chill, if you want to think of it that way. Even with a high pressure job, that's just how they roll. And the other person is very serious, all the time, very serious, not a great sense of humor. Life is just not depressed, just a very serious person. How those two very different personality styles, what is the hope that they can play together?
Mm-hmm. Well, so I think it's important to understand your play styles. Different people have different play styles. And you can look that up. There's actually quizzes online for adult play styles. If you just Google that, you can find that. And kind of understanding your approach to play versus your partner's allows you to kind of settle into that. You don't have to play in the same way. So if your partner's cracking jokes, you can be present with that. You don't have to do the same, but can you be present with it? Can you receive it? Can you join in it without necessarily doing the same? The idea is not necessarily to do the same thing in the same way at the same time, but to be there for it.
Absolutely.
I would also want to know for that more serious partner, what is their play style? How do they let go? What is making it hard for them to potentially experience kind of their version of play? I'm sure they have it, but something might be blocking it, and I'd be really curious about that.
I think sometimes you think about, gosh, we innately and intrinsically know how to play. We were born to play. We used to play, right? And then as they say, those 1,000 veils, all the things that happened to in our life created that other person who we are now.
Yeah.
And even too, I think, so learning to maybe relinquish that role. Like you think when you come home to play, Dr. Alba, Dr. Kellogg, that's not who you really want to show up to play, right? It's like, so relinquishing some of those roles and personas that we are and having permission to do that can be really fun too, to say, I don't have to be any of those people in this moment in play. And that's what really removes some of that expectations, performance, all that stuff, that let's just pull away the roles and the veils and the personas and just coexist in the space and whatever the play may be at that particular time. I think that's what can make it exciting. And I think we know how to do it.
Yes.
But sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but even when I get home, sometimes it's like to let go of who I just came from and was in the office and all the stuff that I dealt with. I had a day the other day where I had like several new sexual trauma patients in a row, just so many things on my mind. Another patient who I had to walk to the ER because he had a low heart rate on metoprolol. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just to let go of all that and step into a space where I could do that. For us, we learn it, we teach it, but it's really hard, right?
Lena, I have a question for you. Jeff, to your point, coming home from work, I'm going to get real personal with me sometimes. Coming home from work, you can think, I have to make dinner, or else I can invite my partner to come play in the kitchen with me. We open the fridge, see what there is, brainstorm about what to make, and just put some music on and just start cooking together or whatever. Was that an example of how you could be playing even though we're both fully clothed and not having sex with each other at the time?
Absolutely. That is a great example. And look, here's the deal. Sometimes you just want to go home and shut down and not feel anything. You want to feel them sometimes. But sometimes you want to make a decision to do just that. And it might be a very small shift that instead of just kind of throwing dinner together and just sitting down at the table and thinking, I can't wait for this to just end, you make a decision to say, you know what, we're going to open a bottle of wine and we're going to make this just a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
How fun, though. And gosh, Susan, what a great thing. And I really give you credit too, because sometimes I just have so much trouble shifting gears out of that fix it mode, that problem solving, all that stuff, into what a perfect thing to pull you out of it, just to go, let's just, dinner has to happen, but let's see what the hell's in the fridge and just have fun with it,
And it doesn't take much. The thing that it does take is an interruption, usually a small cue. Like you get home, sometimes putting on a record that you like can change things. A little cue that tells you, okay, I'm going to feel something a little different. But often what we do is the opposite.
So
we sit down on the couch and we get on our phones and then we tune out. But if we can just make a small decision to say, actually, you know what? I want to feel something, anything, just a little bit. We're more likely to say, I want more of that. Oh, that song. Oh, yeah, it made me think of this other one. I want to play this. Oh, yeah, I remember that song that felt really good. Oh, yeah, I'm going to turn it up. I'm going to sing along to this.
Music is so powerful, and I think you're so right. And sometimes we just forget those simple things that could shift you into that different mode so easily, like a really great song or something like that, because something's got to pull you out of it. But like you said, I think what we think we have to do now is I have to tune out. And we tune, but we don't tune out. We tune into our phone or our something. But what if we tuned into our partner and tune off the screens? We've been on them all day, usually with our jobs.
Yeah, exactly. So I have another question. If you talk about play as a vehicle or as an expression of intimacy, then it's very possible that many forms of play don't lead to clothes coming off. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
And so I think that's a very meaningful take home, is that I think when people think about sexuality and play, they think about dress up, having sex with a mask on, which is all perfectly lovely, by the way, but it doesn't have to be in bedroom with the goal of penis in vagina or vagina and vagina intercourse. That it really can be literally just having a good time with your partner and laughing and cracking up.
Absolutely. Okay. My goal with my clients is not that how to have, wild sex where you're role playing and how to, come up with these elaborate scenarios. Great if you can, love it.
More power to you.
Right. What I want for you is to have 1,000 ways to feel good together. From the wild, extravagant scenario, that you're going to, put on the sexy outfit and that's great. And how to have a little moment that can feel just a little extra at the end of your day. You can tap into that moment of intimacy that feels playful and feels fun. Because depending on what's happening in your life, sometimes you have room for this. Sometimes you need this little morsel because that's all that you have available. So again,
and then being open to that present moment, and going with it. Because like you said, it's like I say to people, like, what could be more fun than a really good cuddle? Maybe that's where you start, and then you end up ending there because you lay together And you're like, okay, who knows where this is going to lead? And it feels so good to just be body to body. Or maybe you get into this amazing discussion or pillow talk kind of thing. So many things could happen if you stay present and open and not believe that there is a goal you're headed towards. The goal is penetration. The goal is orgasms. The goal is naked. The goal is strip off our clothes, right, Susan? But the goal is simply deep connection where you feel seen and heard and you feel good and you're having fun together. And so I say, I'll say to people, even when I do sensate focus, I say, you could do sensate focus out in public. Like you go to an Ethiopian restaurant eating each other and stuff. What could be more intimate than that? I mean, people are going to be like, get a room, but I mean, it's like your clothes are on, but again, really broadening what we think it's about. And what I love about play is that it's about presence and rolling with whatever it is at the moment.
So go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, what I love about that is that it addresses something that comes up a lot where, clients will say, when my partner touches me, I tense up because I'm worried that if they touch me, they're going to want this to lead to sex, and I don't feel like I want that tonight, so I shut down the touch. And what you're saying is, no, the game could we don't know where this game is going to go, and it doesn't matter. As long as we're open, we get to feel good, and that might be, giggling on the couch and cuddling, and that is beautiful and wonderful, and it can be just that.
And I would say, to your both of your points, I think let's see where it's going to go, but to make sure that woman or man who says, oh, when my partner touches me, I like go, my head automatically is, what's this going to lead to? What does he want? What does she want? Maybe being more explicit at the beginning of play, like, this is really what this cuddling feels so good. Jeff, you brought that up. Like, that's where it ended that night in your scenario. So this cuddling feels so good. This is how this is where I'd like to keep it. I think there's a place in play for limit setting if it makes everybody more comfortable. Agree? Not agree?
Well, if we think of how play works, I mean, again, let's learn from the masters. Little kids are playing a game. Hey, do you want to play doctor? I want to be the doctor. No, I don't want to play that game. Actually, I would rather, can we just play, can we play vet instead? Okay, that sounds fine. Okay. Yeah. Suddenly they're playing vet. The negotiation is happening. Structure is being created. And it's happening because they want to keep the game going. It's attunement. It's communication. It's an awareness that everyone has to be on board.
I think it's so important. And Suze, I think you hit on a really, really important thing. I have so many of my female patients. I see a lot of sexual trauma patients, a lot of people, they're just like, I just don't want anybody to expect anything from me. I feel like every man I meet wants something from me, and it's usually very similar. And I just don't want to feel like they need anything from me, that I can just be in that moment. And I think that's really important I know that's what my patients talk about all the time, just God. And sometimes at the end of the year, it's like, God, I hope nobody else needs anything from me because I got nothing left, right? So just be there.
And just think of that tension, right? Like, someone is coming to you, putting in a bid for affection or attention, and you're tensing up because I don't know what's going to happen. Are they going to get upset? Are they going to withdraw? Are we going to get in a fight? Like, right off the bat, the intimacy is gone. But and again, kind of, when I say the ingredients for play are the ingredients for intimacy, that relational piece, that ability to say, we are figuring this out. To be doing this together means I can go into this knowing that I can join you, and I can say, hey, I don't feel like it. And you're going to say, oh, okay. That's it.
So that brings me to a place of, go ahead, please.
No, I just was thinking my turn to be in charge of play, like you said, that maybe this particular time, hey, I want to kind of dominate where this is going to go a little bit, because I just want, or I don't want it to go wherever. I think some of those boundaries and stuff might be really healthy and really good too that you brought up, Susan.
So along with boundaries, there has to be safety. So I'm thinking of a couple I just worked with that she was in trying to be playful and said, I wonder what it would be. Here's curiosity. I wonder what it would be like if I got to, and Jeff and I have talked about this before, it's called handwriting. If I got to watch you, to her male partner, pleasure yourself on your penis, and I got to put my hand over your hand and just go along for the ride, so to speak. No pressure on her. She's thinking I might learn something, and he still gets to feel good, right? So be together, blah, blah, blah. And the safety piece was broken when he said, that's a stupid idea. And it took everything in her to bring this up, like everything, to say, what would it be like if?
Yeah, she took a risk.
I think setting not only boundaries, but to make it a safe space, because when little kids are playing unicorn, they don't say, that's a stupid idea. There are no unicorns. You know what I mean? Right? So how do you, as a therapist, Lena, how do you set the rules?
Yeah. So one of the things, and this is from Dr. Alexandra Solomon, I talk about this so much, what she calls the sacred sexy trio. And it's risk, trust, and self-compassion or compassion. And basically what she says is, you take a risk. Hey, I wonder if I could try this thing with you. And the hope is that the partner says either, yeah, that sounds great, let's try it, or, thanks for sharing that, but you know what, I'm not up for it. That's a totally fine answer. And if you get that answer, cool, you built trust, right? I can share a desire and I trust that you're going to respect that. And now I can take an even bigger risk. What happened with them is that this partner took a risk and it didn't pan out so well. She got rejected and she got shamed for saying that. The part that you need to lean on is compassion. We messed up. This didn't get handled well. You took a risk, and instead of meeting it with care and kindness, you met it with judgment and shame. So there's some repair that needs to happen there. And so I'll often work with couples on how you can learn how to recognize a risk and how to address it in a way that's going to build trust. And when you falter, because you will falter, how can you repair? People mess up.
So important. And, because I think about it and I think, gosh, let's face it, all this is real vulnerable. Your client who did all that was being incredibly brave and vulnerable to do it and say what she did. And that's where it's like, especially with play, we don't want to poo-poo the other person's idea, right? We don't want to poop on somebody else's great, whatever that idea is. It's sort of like when someone's eating something they're really enjoying, you're like, ooh, do you like that? Right?
Yeah.
It's not okay. So I think maybe setting some ground rules and things can be really helpful too. So it's a really good point.
Setting ground rules, again, this attunement, we want to play together. We want to keep this, if we want to keep this play going, here's what we need to do. And when we mess up, not if we mess up, when we mess up, how do we take care of each other?
Really good point. So do you think this is one of the reasons that people, my patients often will say when they have had a little bit of wine or maybe they've had some marijuana, they tend to flow more in sexual play with their partner. Do you think that taps into that ability to play a little bit more? I'm not condoning or condemning that. I just am making a comment, actually.
Probably lowers some inhibitions, probably allows, depending on how they're responding to it, it maybe allows them, to what Jeff, you were saying earlier, to shed some of the roles that they're carrying throughout the day.
Yeah. So I got a question that came in for you. It's, my partner and I love each other deeply, but sex has started to feel very serious and goal-oriented. So how can we begin introducing more playfulness without feeling forced or awkward? I thought that was a good question.
Yeah. So one, even if it feels forced or awkward, that's okay. I think there's something, you can even laugh at that. You can even laugh at the fact that, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this. That's all right. But I would say, do it more. Try a lot of things, from sexual things to non-sexual things. Playing a game together, playing a board game together and laughing your heads off, that is a way to introduce play that is non-sexual by any means, but it helps you feel. Again, it's the how. It helps you remember what it's like to let go. It helps you remember being present with one another. It helps you remember kind of being in this easeful space with one another. So remembering how that feels will probably allow you to then transition that into a different version of that kind of play. So I would say one, play in as many ways as you can think of, sexually and non-sexually, big and small, and see what feels good. Experiment, try things. This really is about an exploration, because there's no manual. There's no kind of if this then that. You really just gotta try things out and let yourself feel and have the experience so that you will want more of it.
Mm-hmm. Susan, Dr. Kellogg, what do you think about that? About how can we begin introducing play without feeling awkward on this person who's a little bit, serious and goal-oriented and uptight?
Well, I will tell you that no matter in practice, and I think Lena, you would agree with this. In practice, there almost always is one person who's much more awkward and much more, and much another person in the party that's like, oh heck yeah, that sounds like fun. I want to laugh more. Do you know? So I think that probably saying that this is normal, number one, that it's normal that not everybody's all in the boat the same way.
Sure.
And that I'm not always lucky enough to see both people in my practice. I usually just see women, and they go home and they try to employ things that we talk about in the office. And sometimes they get met with, that's a stupid idea. And other times they get met with, well, it sounds weird, but okay, I'll try it. And then they end up cracking up. But I think to say that there's a number of ways this could be received. It could be received really wholeheartedly, and other times it could be almost feeling like it's shut down. So the first thing you want to get is buy-in to the concept of play. Just try it. You know how people do, Jeff, your point about the food, people say, well, I know you don't like nachos and ketchup, but just try it. Just try. Have you ever had it before? And so just try it. And I promise, if you don't like it, we can stop, because that's kind of negotiation that happens with sex anyway, to be honest with you.
Right.
For sure.
So
yeah, because consent is an ongoing thing always. So that's good.
Right. Play is voluntary.
I have another question for you guys. I feel disconnected from my erotic self due to stress, parenting, illness, aging, and my cancer treatment. What are some small ways to begin reconnecting with pleasure, sensation, and play again with my partner?
So I would highly recommend that emotional floor plan that I was talking about earlier, because what it does talk about is transitions. Because you're talking about some really hard things to be in. It can be very difficult to want to jump from anxiety, grief, and fear into a place of play. So something that I would kind of wonder about is, might there be a level of care that you need before you could potentially access play? It's a question. Is there some sort of supports you need? What conditions might help you better settle into play? Those are things that I would wonder about. And also, when it comes to play, what are things that feel available to you? They can be sensory, right? Things that, what are things that helps your body feel good? What are things that you can access, touch, taste, smell? It doesn't have to be a big ordeal, but something where you can really let yourself in the moment just feel from a pure kind of five senses standpoint. That can be a way to kind of really kind of turn your senses on. Remembering the things that you enjoy. For some people, it's, they forget that they love to read. Maybe they haven't read a fiction book in ages, and then they, pick up a novel and they're like, oh my God, I forgot how much I love this. And, suddenly they found something that they've reconnected with. So I would say one, sensory things, things that are easy to access that involve kind of the physical sensations, but also kind of revisiting the things in the past that you know have brought a sense of joy and wonder, and maybe seeing if you can re-access those.
It reminds me, Susan, when you were talking about you put on the mask so you don't know and you feel the different textures, and it's a way of play, like get out all the different things, the feather duster, the different things, and let them feel these different textures and things with a blindfold on. That was one of the fun things you brought up in a previous podcast, which I thought was really such a great idea, to use senses that we don't always use like that, you know.
Right.
Smell, aromatherapy. But I like that idea a lot.
Novelty does wonders, right? If we're used to a scent that's different, a sensation that we're not used to, when our body feels something that is different, it turns us on in a different way.
Absolutely. One of to your point of, I had a couple where they both were both definitely experiencing aging, advanced aging, and in the how shall I say this? In going into their age, the older they got, the more she liked light, feathery touch, and the more his rough hands were more rough, like really rough. And so one of their most successful sexual scenarios, intimate scenarios, was when he decided to take a little brush that you would baste a turkey with butter. Are you with me, guys? They're very soft. They look like paintbrushes, but not really. And he did that on her arm, and she was just like completely aroused by the end of that. I was like, he turkey basted you, but it was a non-painful, gentle touch that was just so lovely to her and so thoughtful of him. Put those two together, and that's a beautiful scenario. So,
and that's the thing. I love that you guys talked about giggling, because I mean, my wife and I, we just celebrated 40 years, and I will say that as you get older, you better learn to giggle, because things just happen that you're like, oh, and you can't move like you used to, and you end up falling over or doing whatever. And so we laugh a lot, during those intimate moments, sometimes never at each other, but with each other. It's like, I can't move my leg. It's stuck, or whatever happens. So, gosh, I mean, the thing is we could talk all night long. So what I'd like to invite you both, I would love to do a play panel 2, where we come back to this subject and talk more about some of these ideas and different things, if you're willing, this summer.
I would love it. And I'd like to I really would like to talk more like things that actually happen, because we all see clients all week long. So
yes,
because those are some things you can't even dream about. This stuff, they have the stuff that people dream up to play. It's so lovely.
Right. Well, and it's helpful for people to kind of have the practical application of it too, like turkey basters.
So we'll plan it for sure. So we're going to plan that one. I will get back to you both, and we will do that this summer. We'll do something that would be really great. And so we will do a play panel 2. But gosh, so many great ideas, so many good things. I'm going to do our closing centering exercise, and I will come back for your final thoughts for listeners from both of you. But gosh, so many good things. It's like, okay. As we come to the end of this episode, I would like to invite you into a brief moment of reflection, just an opportunity to reconnect with that sense of curiosity and play within your beautiful self. If it feels comfortable, gently close your eyes or soften your gaze, whichever feels most comfortable. Take slow, steady breath in and exhale fully. Allow your body to settle just as it is. No need to change anything. Let it settle. Now bring to mind the idea of play. Not performance, not pressure, just play. Ask yourself gently, when was the last time I felt playful in my body? When was the last time I felt playful in my body? No need to search hard, just notice what comes. Now imagine what it might feel like to bring a little more curiosity into your intimate life. Curiosity about sensation. We talked about that. Sensation, smelling, hearing, feeling, tasting. About connection. About what feels good. Not what feels right. What feels good? You know what feels good. See if you can let go just for a moment of expectations or outcomes and instead allow space with your partner. Think about allowing space for exploration. Take another slow, deep breath in. And as you exhale, imagine softening into openness and curiosity. A reminder, intimacy doesn't have to be perfect to be meaningful. Presence, being present over making it perfect. Sometimes it just needs to be alive. When you're ready, gently bring your awareness back to this present moment, where you are right now, back in this room. And as you come back into the room, welcome back. Keep that curiosity with you. So, Vic, can you tell our listeners what is up next week? What's up on Dr. Jeff Talks About Sex and Intimacy?
In this episode, Dr. Jeff sits down with renowned urologic oncologist Dr. Sadhana to explore focal therapy for prostate cancer, an innovative precision-based approach that targets cancer while sparing healthy tissue. Dr. Sadhana explains who is an ideal candidate for focal therapy and how advanced image and biopsy techniques guide treatment. How modalities like HIFU and cryotherapy work. We also dive into what men care deeply about: preserving erectile function, urinary continence, and overall quality of life after treatment. Join us on May 19th at 7 p.m. Central Time to learn more.
Wow, Vic, you had a Western twang in there and everything. So I guess we're thinking of those focal therapies as new frontiers that I think Vic creates those to make. He loves to watch me laugh during them because he does the most amazing things with those. That was pretty funny with the Western twang. But all humor aside, it's going to be a great episode. And Dr. Sadhana came to my prostate cancer group, and he does every single focal therapy type, and he tailors it according to what that patient needs. It's going to be such a great episode. But so I hope you'll join us next week. But wow, so many good things. Thank you so much. Lena, you guided us through tenets, kind of gave us a framework for play. Such good information. And it's always a treat to have you here, Dr. Kellogg. You can co-host with me any day of the week. So it's all good. But final thoughts for listeners from each of you. I'll start with you, Dr. Kellogg.
My final thoughts is that intimacy doesn't have to be sexual, and play doesn't have to be sexual, but both intimacy and sex can be playful. I guess so. That's what I'm trying to say. So just to lighten it up. That's what I'm going to say. Think about how you can lighten it up and lighten like that part of your connection with your partner. Just think about how you can gently just lighten things up.
I love it. Thank you. Lena.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would just want to end with an invitation tonight for folks to just give themselves permission to not think, to just let themselves see to feel and to play and to see how that feels and to just let that be and go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no expectations, no pressure, no anything. Just live in the moment. I love that. Listeners, just remember, you were innately and intricately born to play. You started playing as an infant, and you know how to play. A lot of things in your life may have robbed you of that, but there is no reason in the world why you can't return to play on your own, with your partner, and it can build some wonderful, wonderful things back into your life. Think of how happy you are or were when you knew and played. I think of the incredible fun I had as a youngster. You can have all that again. So that's my hope and prayer for you, is that you play. You have more play in your life, and that play leads to more love and connection. Thank you for joining us, and goodbye.
Dr. Jeff talks about sex and intimacy, breaking down the science, setting your spirit free with stories, wisdom, laughter and care, connection and confidence. He'll take